we are not kind to ourselves. We are not practicing self-love. So sure, on the surface, we can say things like self-love, self-acceptance, love yourself. But I'm talking about in the very deep, private moments, in the inner workings of our minds. In the moment when you gaze at yourself in the mirror for too long, who is it that you see and what is the story you're telling yourself about yourself? Because I know for me, it hasn't always been kind. Hi. It's me and you again. I think this is going to be the last episode of the year. Well, I mean, I love how I say, like, I don't know if it is, and I'm 100% positive it is. This has been so fun. I don't know what number episode this is going to be, but maybe like 13, 14. So who knows? I don't know. So not that many, but it's been really, really fun. This is like 100% been a highlight of my year. So if I haven't said it already, I just want to say thank you for listening and for being here. Every time I sit down in front of this mic, oh my God, I'm going to cry. I get so flipping nervous. Like I'm really, really nervous right now. And so overwhelmed with gratitude because do you ever like do something that you're like, oh, this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing? I know that sounds really cheesy, but that's how I feel when I talk with all of you. I've always been such a chatterbox and I'm like, oh my gosh, finally my chatterbox is coming into handy. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know. But it's really fun and I'm really leaning into it. And I can't wait to see where 2025 takes this show. So I just wanted to say to all of you who, started listening, and if you're new here, I don't even know how to say thank you. Just thank you for being here, for the people who have subscribed, for the comments that you leave, for um, the little ratings. I don't even know like all the things that you can do because I'm still learning how to do them. I laugh at how bad I am at technology with some of this stuff, but all the things that you do, and you know what they are. I just wanted to say thank you. It means, and I know this, I say this all the time, but it genuinely and truly means more than you know. Okay, so we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. We're here to talk about you and this new year. Oh my gosh, another year coming up. We've got a whole year ahead of us. Wide open space. How cool is that? Like 365 days that we get to just like rewrite our story or keep it the same. Keep it the same. Start a new chapter or continue on the one we're on. Who knows? Like it's up to you. I am such a huge lover of this time of year. Like I really, really enjoy the holidays, but I love this like post holidays, beginning of the new year. I kind of like how it's a little darker out. And I love to go inward. I'm such like a person who's like intro perspective, whatever the word is that means like going in. That's what I like to do. That's me. If you can't tell. And so this time of year is my jam. It's like I live for this. I was like, wait, it's dark and we get to drink a lot of hot liquids and stay inside and talk about feelings. Like sign me up. It's my jam. So I really love this time of year. And I'm going to tell you what I love about this time of year. I love this time of year because it's an opportunity to reflect and to set new intentions and kind of recalibrate if some things are feeling off for us. And when I say recalibrate, I know you know what I'm talking about. Like there are certain things in our life that just feel a little glitchy. There's a little tension there for whatever reason that you need to shift some things. That's recalibrating. So we get to reflect on some things, recalibrate, and set some intentions moving forward. What I don't love about this year, I'm usually not a negative person, but what I don't love about this year is how it can be used in a way to shame ourselves or make us feel like we need to fix a part of ourselves. I think this time of year has been so capitalized by the wellness industry and I don't even know, like the health and wellness space to create a sense of urgency in you to become someone different. And so I want you to know that this episode, I don't actually think it's going to be titled this, but in my head, when I was coming up with this episode, I was thinking like new year, not new you. So I just want you to know like it is a new year and we can love this time of year as an opportunity to just be excited about what's to come. This does not need to be about becoming a different person or fixing a part of ourselves or losing 10 pounds or I don't know, like getting that new job. Like we don't need to change or fix anything about ourselves. You are not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. And yet, if there's a part of you that's like, I would like to feel a little differently in my life, yeah, let's explore that. That I'm cool with. So I kind of wanted just to set the ground rules there of like what we're doing and what we're not doing. We're doing things that make us feel really good and well and empowered. And we are not doing things that make us feel like crap and make us feel like we are setting ourselves up for a new goal for 2025 that somehow we aren't going to meet because it's not actually a goal that means something to us. And then we're just going to feel shitty about ourselves. We are not doing things that make us feel shitty about ourselves. Okay. All right. So for me personally, as I look at this year and it ending, it's just a really big year. I know it's a really big year for you too, for all of us, really, collectively. A lot happened this year. And I think it's really important to take some time this week or early next week, whenever time allows. There's no rush here, okay? Just because the date on the calendar says December 31st or January 1st or January, whatever, like it doesn't matter. It's all made up. This whole time construct, like let's be honest here, it's all made up. You can do this reflecting at any time. We're in this season of wintering right now. So, if any point over this winter season you do this, you're all good, okay? So if right now you're just going to focus on, I don't know, being with your family and laying on the sofa and like watching holiday movies, you do that. Okay. You can do your reflection intention setting January 7th or 14th. It doesn't matter. Okay. So just first of all, there's no time constriction here. I think one of the things that happens when we think about the end of the year is that it can be really easy for us to reflect back on the year and see the things that maybe in our mind we could have improved on or we could have done differently or things about ourselves that we want to fix. And before we even think about setting some intentions for 2025 or thinking about how energetic we want to feel next year, I think it's really, really, really important that we take an opportunity to just step back and thank ourselves and give ourselves credit for all the amazing work that we did this year and all the ways we showed up for ourselves, all the ways we showed up for our family, all the ways physically we showed up for ourselves, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and just feel for a moment really damn proud. Whether you think you could have done some things differently or better, it doesn't really matter. What really matters here is that we are taking an opportunity to just reflect on all the things that we have done. I think it's so easy. It's like, was just actually saying this to my daughter this morning because she was snapping at me about something. And I was like, it's so funny how I can do 99 things right in your eyes, but the one thing I do wrong, you focus on. And, our brains are hardwired to find the problems. They're hardwired to keep us safe. And so we'll always find the flaws or I don't know, the area that we need to fix. And so it's not your fault. It's not, a personal story. It's universal. I do it too. We all do it. We go to the thing that needs in our mind our attention. And so I just want to allow our minds an opportunity to focus on ourselves and feel a sense of gratitude and pride for all the things that you did do well. Like you really knocked out of the park. This whole maneuvering through the world, especially the year of an election. We have so much going on politically and socially. You have managed to get through a really traumatic and year full of turmoil. And so I just want you to feel really proud of all that you have done. I share all this with you now because this is something I'm really struggling with. And as I've started to reflect back on the year, my inner critic can go pretty critically, could go become pretty critical very quickly. I have a very loud, very vicious inner critic. She she is not for the faint of heart, and she's been around for a long time. I don't believe the things that she says, right? Like I don't believe the things my mind tells me. I know enough. I'm aware enough to recognize when my mind does this, but it doesn't mean it doesn't try Oh, she's got some good ones. I think that's why, and I've said this before, maybe on the podcast or in a blog post, but I think that's why I'm never really too afraid of like putting myself out there publicly because my own inner critic is way meaner than any outside person could be. I'm like, hey, you total stranger, you got nothing on me. You should see what my inner voice says, which is terrible. I know. And a part of my job, part of my work this year has been coming to terms with that inner critic and not trying to quiet her and just being like, I get it. I know why you're doing this. I have compassion for you. I see you're just nervous for me and it's okay. And just to not believe her, she can be there. I just don't need to listen to her. But anyway, as I've been reflecting on this year, as I'm asking you to do, it was really easy for me this year. And can feel myself already getting choked up because I've been really critical of myself the past couple of years. And I would like to not do that anymore. It's really started when we moved to California. And I think it's because physically it feels like I personally have taken a step backwards in my life. And being in this midlife stage, almost 46, there are many times I say to myself, like, we should be further along than this. I feel this sense of urgency with Asher going off to school in 2 years, that, like, we need to find a house, we need to settle down, we need to create memories. And I thought we'd be further along than this. Like, I thought I'd be further along. And let me put it this way, like, JP's doing amazing. The kids are all doing amazing. It's me who's struggling. And, maybe this is how it is for all women. Like, you get your kids set up and they're doing great and your partner is doing great and you're the one, you're the one that's like, hold on. What about me? What about me? And so the past few years have been a moment of, wait, what about me? Kind of a thing. And, as we have moved homes quite a few times, as many of you know, we've kind of been bopping around from house to house, rental to rental, trying to find a house that we can land in that will work financially and that will work logistically in the right location and all the things. And I'm just feeling like there was a moment, recently this holiday season. I was like, did I make a mistake? Did we go backwards? And I know that's not true. I know we didn't. And I also feel that way career wise, which I can't believe I'm saying as I'm recording this podcast and you're listening. You're like, what is she talking about? She launched a podcast. But in my head, I was going to do it better and bigger and more successfully. And so there is this bar that is so crazy high that I set for myself that I wonder if I set it so high that I always feel like I'm failing when I don't make it. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I wrote a book this past year, like a full manuscript, edited, ready to go to publishing, and it ended up not getting published for lots of various reasons. And I'm going back to the drawing table, starting over on that project. And I had a lot of like tears around it. And JP's like, did you really think that I was just going to get like published and be like, come like a New York Times bestseller? And I was like, yes, I did. It was crazy. And he's like, why did you think that? And, I do that with the podcast. I was really excited about the show, and with pretty quickly someone reached out and was like, we'd like to sponsor the show. We think it's great. We'd love to set up a meeting to talk about a sponsorship. And I was so excited. I was like, this is great. This will help supplement and help pay for the production costs. And I was so excited. We got on that call, and you guys, I only say this to you jokingly because I feel like I can share this with you because it's like we're close friends. But the person came to the meeting and she was like, we'd like to offer you a set of sheets in return for a sponsored spot on your show and for the show to be sponsored by us. I was like, wait, you're offering me a set of sheets to do this? And it really wasn't about whether it was a set of sheets or what it was. It was the fact that, someone was valuing my work at such a small amount that I almost felt like embarrassed. I was like, oh my gosh, I was thinking this was something different. I thought I was going to get someplace different with this. And I'm not saying I'm not, or the show's not going to get there, or that the book's not going to get there. I'm just not there yet. I'm just not there yet. But as I'm closing out this year, it was really easy this year to start thinking about all of the goals I hadn't achieved, that like I didn't get that sponsored spot, the book didn't get published, yada, yada, yada. We didn't actually find a house for that we can probably stay in permanently, and all the things in my mind that physically feel like I didn't do. And yet, and this is the reason I'm bringing this up, and I don't know how this is possible, especially since I was just in tears a second ago. I'm my happiest I've ever been. I feel the most inspired by the work I'm doing. I feel the most connected to my children. I feel the most connected to myself. I feel really confident about where I'm going and the direction I'm going in. And I'm really proud of just the person I am becoming. I had a moment with Lillian the other day before school, and she'll be mortified that I'm sharing this, but sorry, Lillian, this is a really small story about you. But she was, she's amazing. We have a wonderful relationship, but she was having a moment. She was leaving for school and she was frustrated with me about something, rightfully so, as we're all allowed to get frustrated with people in our lives. And she was leaving and she was on the driveway and she was telling my two younger kids, she was like, "You can just tell mom that I hate her, that she's the worst mom ever, blah, blah, blah. And I don't know why she's doing this." And she was just going on and on. And I was standing on the front porch. And maybe a few years ago, I would have reacted to that. And I would have taken it personally and I would have gotten really upset. And I would have been like, "Don't you yell at me and raise your voice." And I just stood there on the porch and I let her yell. She didn't know I was standing there. And I just had like a little smirk on my face. And I was thinking to myself, my daughter feels safe enough in our home to yell and raise her voice. And you are a wonderful mom. And she doesn't mean these things. And I walked over to her and she was so angry because I wasn't upset. I think it almost upset her that I wasn't upset. And I just put my arms around her and I gave her a really big hug. And I'm like, "I know you're so angry at me. I know. I know. I know. I know. And I love you. And it's okay. And you're allowed to be mad at me." And I'm sharing that because that to me, I was like, "Oh my gosh," that night I went to bed. I was like, "I'm so proud of how far you've come in motherhood." And I think I could respond that way to her because there's no part of me that thinks that that was true. I know I'm not a terrible mom. I know she doesn't hate me. Like that wasn't true. That was just her having a moment of, I don't know, needing to vent as we all do. And so as I think about the things that I have done this past year, maybe I didn't get a sponsor for the show and maybe their book didn't get published, but I've come really far in my ability to not react to things, to not take things personally, to remove my ego, to separate my feelings from my actions. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm sharing this with you because I want you, as you reflect back on this year, to not focus on necessarily the things that you accomplished or didn't do. So, I mean, if I was making a list and it was just on the physical things like getting a sponsor for the post, buying a house for our family, I don't know, settling down, getting a book deal, like it would be a big fat zero. But like that stuff is all bullshit. We know that. Like none of that matters at the end of the day. Like, I'm not taking that with me. Like, I'm not taking a book deal with me. I'm not going to the grave with that. What I am taking with me, what it does really matter, not necessarily taking with me, but what does matter is how I feel about myself, the way I maneuver through my days, the energy that I carry, the peace that I either feel or don't feel, the connection I either have with my kids or not with my kids, how present I am in my day-to-day life. Like those are the things. And so as I'm reframing this and reflecting on the year, my list is really about the moments that I was the most present and the most grounded and I felt the most connected to myself. And I am feeling a deep sense of gratitude. Oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm crying in for that woman who showed up this year and did those things, for that woman who showed up and gave her daughter a hug when she was upset, for that woman who showed up and said, "I'm going to start a blog no matter, or I'm going to start a podcast no matter what. I don't know how it's going to go, but I'm going to start it." For the woman who could bravely say in that meeting, no thank you to the set of sheets. I believe I'm worth more, and I'm going to wait until I can figure this out. I appreciate this, but all this was fuel for me to figure out what's next and to build this into something I'm really proud of. So take this time now and take this moment to reflect on this year about the woman that you showed up as and how proud of her you are. Because that takes a lot of strength and a lot of guts. And it's not easy. It could have been so easy to go through this year and not challenge yourself, not rise to the occasion, to snap at our partners or our kids, to be mean to ourselves. And oh my God, of course, we have moments we all do that, right? I mean, I certainly do. But I also have a lot of moments that I was really, had a lot of grace for myself. I was really good to myself. And I'm really, really proud of that. So I want you, the first half of this, as we get off this, close this episode, and you're going to take a moment to reflect. I want you to reflect on this year and how you've shown up for yourself and just thank yourself. Feel that deep sense of gratitude. You did awesome. We did awesome, kids. We did it. Okay, so then the second part of this little exercise or this little thing that we're doing together is about intention setting. So if the first half of the exercise you're going to do, or the first half of this, I was going to say phone call, whatever it is that we're doing here. What even is this we're doing here? The first half was reflection. This second part, part two, is about intention, setting an intention. So how do you want to feel in 2025? Like, what energetically are you craving? And I am not talking about, so don't even come to me with like, I want to lose 5 pounds or I want to blah, blah, blah. Like, no, 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 no to all of that stuff. No, thank you. This is just simply, how do you want to feel? I'm going to set an intention. Like, I'd like to be calmer in the mornings, or I'd like to feel, I don't know, not so rushed after in the afternoons. I'd like to create more ease in my day. I'd like to feel better in my skin. I'd like, just energetically, like, how do you want to feel? Okay. So we're going to let that be your intention. Like, you think about what that is. And maybe you already know it off the top of your head. And if you do, great. And if not, it's okay. I'm going to offer you mine, what I'm working on this year. And my intention for 2025 is super simple. And yet, the hardest thing in the world is just radical self acceptance and self love. And I do not mean like the Hallmark cheesy kind. I don't mean the kind that's like bypassing our feelings and be like, I just love myself. Like, please, we are not doing that either. I'm talking about the deep, deep, radical self love that only comes with a deep sense of self knowing and of honesty, of holding ourselves in accountability and integrity, and then looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, with all of that, knowing the whole story of who I am, knowing the whole thing, I love all of you and I'm not changing any of it. That's the kind of self love I'm talking about. And that we don't really practice. At least I don't. Nor does any woman I know do. I am going to say something here. I'm going to share a little story here. I'm going to share something with you. And it is going to sound extreme when I use a couple of words here. And I just want you to not react and just sit with it for a second and check in with yourself. I told many of you that I was doing a deep dive into Buddhism this fall. I did like a 12-week program where every Sunday we met for a couple of hours and went through just the principles of Buddhism. And we finished our final call last week, and our instructor was asking us to share like what our goal was, like what did we learn, like, you know, what came out of the program for us. And, you know, I went into the program and I had originally said, you know, I feel like I have a strong understanding of meditation and of Buddhist wisdom. And yet there are still parts of myself, like I still find myself having this internal dialogue that just won't go away. I will still like be mean to myself. Like I have this inner critic, and I can still have moments I'm impatient with the kids, and I still have moments I like will want to binge eat or different things. And I was like, I feel like I should be past all of that for how far I am as a practitioner. Like I thought I would be past all of this. And I really want to use these 12 weeks to deep dive into maybe why some of this is still happening for me. And I want to be better, especially as someone who teaches meditation. I feel like I hold myself to this high standard of accountability, like really living what I preach. And there are parts of me that feel like if people saw in my head, if you saw the inner critic in my head, or if you saw some of these moments, the way I spoke to my kids, or some of the fights I'd get in with John Paul, and, that I'd be embarrassed, that people would be like, wait a second, I thought she was a, a meditation teacher. And so I really wanted to fix that about myself. And so you can already hear where this is going. And so the 12 weeks goes by, and it really does open some things for me. And I go deeper into my meditation practice, and I'm really proud of the work that I did. And as we closed this past Sunday, I had big tears in my eyes. I was like, I really thought that I was going to change, and that the practice was in changing and rewiring some of these old habits. And I said, I think the practice was actually in me just loving those parts of myself and having a radical self acceptance of all those parts of myself. And then I said, I think there was a part of me that just like, I wanted to stop hating myself. I just wanted to stop hating myself for a moment. I wanted that to go away. And I think just saying that out loud, like the whole room was like, wait, what? You hate yourself? And I'm saying that to you now out loud. I know that sounds extreme to be like, oh, you hate yourself? I don't think it's conscious. Like, I'm not like consciously like, oh, I hate myself. But I think underneath there is this deeper layer of a feeling of unworthiness. And I think if you listening are being really honest with yourself, I think all of us have a layer of this self hatred that we carry within ourselves. And I only say that because I see the ways in which we're all constantly trying to fix ourselves. You know, it's why we get Botox. It's why we dye our hair. It's why we feel the need to buy new eye creams or prove ourselves to people like online or do different things. There's always this, and not that you can't do those things, but I'm saying to you, there is this layer of, if you go deep and then deep and deep and like keep pulling back that layer after layer to get to the heart of like what's really going on here, there is this part of ourselves that's this little child that's like, I just want to be told I'm loved. And maybe there's a part of us that is like just not loving ourselves. And so maybe it's not self-hate. Maybe that is too extreme of a word, but it definitely is not self-love. And I think that just going through this program the past couple of months, and even just taking the past few years to dive deeper into my mindfulness practice, I am really seeing how difficult it is and how really everything comes back to feeling a sense of worthiness, feeling a sense of deep love and compassion for myself. And if I could change anything in this world for you, for my kids, for myself, it would be that we all felt inside of ourselves this sense of deep love and deep worthiness, this radical self acceptance that I'm talking about. Because I think if we did, there would be such a huge ripple effect in our lives that would change everything. It would change how you maneuver through your day. It would change the anxiety you feel. It would change the way you would eat. It would change the way you would push yourself physically. It would change the way you manage stress. If there was just this deep sense of like, actually, I'm okay. And who I am is pretty okay. And I love myself. We would treat ourselves so differently. Think about the way, if you were a mother, think about the way you treated your child when they were first born baby. And if you are not a mother, just think about someone you love so deeply in your life, the way you would treat them, how delicately you would hold that relationship, and you would hold them in your hands, or you would love them, or you would just touch their skin or brush their hair. And then I want you to think about the last time you treated yourself that way. Whether we're aware of it or not, when we wake up in the mornings, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we do not brush our hair as if we were brushing our newborn baby's hair or our grandmother's, right? We're looking at ourselves in the mirror, noticing that gray hair or noticing that new wrinkle or thinking to ourselves, like, God, my pants are so tight. We are not kind to ourselves. We are not practicing self love. So, sure, on the surface, we can say things like self love, self acceptance, love yourself. But I'm talking about in the very deep, private moments, in the inner workings of our minds, in the moment when you gaze at yourself in the mirror for too long. Who is it that you see? And what is the story you're telling yourself about yourself? Because I know for me, it hasn't always been kind. And my job is not to lose the 10 pounds or to fix the gray hair or to Botox my forehead. The job is to look at myself in the mirror and be like, God, I love you. I really love you. Look how much you've done in 46 years. You're probably really tired. You probably just want a nap. I just want you to I just want you to know you've done a really, really good job. Okay, so I want to talk about moving forward, how we are going to create some new intentions for the upcoming year. And mine are going to be focused around self love, but you pick what feels good to you. Okay. There might be something already in your mind that you're wanting, but in order to get there, I think one of the most important things that we do is that we have a really deep sense of knowing about ourselves. And there's an exercise that I've done in the past that I do every so often that I want to share with you that I'm hoping will be helpful. And so it's just a simple reflection exercise. So it's a little meditation, but it's with our eyes open. And so I'm going to walk you sort of through it. And then I'm going to invite you, when you're done spending your time with me, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and practice this on your own. And then you're going to do a little journal exercise that I'll tell you about at the end. Okay. What do you say? Are you up for this? Okay. Okay. So you are going to, excuse me, you are going to go into a bathroom. I shouldn't say that. You can go into any room you want. You're going to find a mirror. You're going to turn off all of your electronics. You're going to find a moment that you don't feel rushed. And I want you to stand in front of the mirror. And I want you just to see your reflection. And I want you to stand there and just gaze into your eyes. And you can start by just placing one hand on your heart and one hand on your belly and just taking a couple of deep breaths, just a big full inhale. And just staying for that exhale. And you're just going to do that a few times, just breathing in and out. Just with your hand on your heart and hand on your belly and just looking at yourself. And then I want you to gaze a little deeper. Just go a little deeper into your eyes. Just really lock in. And just notice what you see reflected back. And it is going to feel really silly at first and really awkward. And you're going to be like, what in the hell is she making me do? But I want you just to trust me. And when you feel that little bit of resistance of your mind saying, this is dumb, this is stupid, and you might be saying that right now listening to this, knock it off, okay? We're not going to do that. Our minds see what they do. They are not in charge. We are not going to listen to our mind. So when it tells you that this exercise is silly or not worth it, you are not listening, okay? It's really uncomfortable to be with ourselves, and it's really uncomfortable to gaze at our own reflection. I want you just to stand there, and I want you to stay there an extra minute or two longer than you feel comfortable. So right when you think like, okay, just stay another minute and then maybe one more minute. And I want you to ask yourself just this simple question of just how could I love you better? That's it. Like, how could I love you better? Like, what do you need from me? What do you need to tell me? What is it that you need? And then you're just going to stay and gaze at your reflection. Just how could I love you better? And without a doubt, something will come up for you. It always does. Whether it's like, I need you just to be nicer to me. I need you to back off. I need a nap. I need support. I need help. I need, a change in the home. I need to change this dynamic in this relationship, whatever it may be. Just give her a moment to just tell you what it is that she needs. I know it sounds cheesy. I get it. Of course it does. All this stuff feels cheesy because our modern world shuns this type of stuff. But just take 2 minutes, 5 minutes tonight, next week, close the bathroom door, turn on some water, like before a bubble bath or something, and just give yourself a moment to check in with yourself. I do this like once a quarter. I just kind of stay a little longer at my reflection and just really check in with myself. And it feels really vulnerable. It feels really weird and scary because the critic is going to get really loud. So just know that that's normal. That's okay. And just see what comes up for you. And then I'm going to invite you to pull out a sheet of paper and a pen and find a quiet space in your home. And you're just going to take a moment to write yourself a little letter. Okay? So this is how we're going to go into 2025. We're going to go into 2025 with vows to ourselves, loving ourselves better. I know it sounds really cheesy. I did this when we first moved to California, and I do this every year. So I'll be doing it again in the next couple of days. And I make myself a letter. And I'm like, it starts with, I promise to. Okay? Just I promise to. And then whatever it may be, and just list it all out. I promise to not be so mean to you. I promise to not be so critical of the way you are with the kids. I promise I'm going to get up and take you on a walk in the morning. I promise I'm going to let you rest. Whatever it may be, just promises to yourself. Vows that you promise to make in order to show up for you. In many cultures and many traditions, we create vows as a semblance of, or as a symbol of a partnership, committing to a partnership to someone, right? We do this in the American culture in weddings, but in many, many cultures, vows are used to solidify a partnership. It's promises you're making to someone. And we are so good as women about keeping our vows and our promises to so many other people in our lives and so many other relationships in our lives. And so I want 2025 to be the year that you keep the vows that you make to you, and that you give yourself the same amount of love and energy and attention as you do to everything else in your life. And so I'm just offering you those two simple things of doing that reflection exercise and writing vows to yourself. It's just a simple way to check in with yourself. Offer yourself a little love and compassion and ask yourself what it is that you need going into this year. We all have an incredible opportunity in front of us to start this season in a way that's really intentional. And I don't care what it specifically is for you, but just being intentional about it. And not getting caught up in continuing down this path of, I'm just going to call it self-hatred, of feeling this need to fix ourselves and better ourselves and accumulate things and to change things about ourselves, and to be in this never-ending quest of self-optimization and self-perfection that is always a moving target. And at the end of the day, will always, always leave us feeling a sense of lack, whether we didn't do enough, a sense of unworthiness. And it has nothing to do with you and how hard you're working or the amount of effort you're putting in or how brilliant you are, how capable you are, how wonderful you are. It's because the target's always moving. We're set up to fail. And so instead, let's just flip the damn script. And this is not going to be the year that we are setting these unnecessary goals for ourselves about changing ourselves. Instead, this is going to be the year that we are really empowered and that we liberate ourselves and we say, actually, this is just the year I'm going to learn to love myself. That's it. Because I promise you, if you do nothing else but just learn to be with, to recognize, to become aware of the woman that you are, and to love completely the woman that you are, amazing things will change. It is something that I am seeing firsthand in my own life as I've gotten rid of a lot of external things that I used to think mattered. And instead have focused on solely like, how do I actually feel on the inside? And letting that be my barometer of how well I'm doing in life. And I will tell you, it feels really good. It feels super scary though, because most of the people we know are focused on the external things. And so you can't compare yourself to the people around you. You can't even look. You got to turn your blinders on, right? Turn your blinders on, look inward, and focus on the things that you can control and about learning to just love the person that you are. And I promise you, it won't be an easy 2025, but it'll be one that feels really good inside. And if we can do anything this year, well, if there could be one thing that I wish for all of us, it would just be to feel really good inside. I love you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening and wishing us all a really easeful, joyful, and happy 2025. All right. I will talk to you kids soon.